Hey team, and welcome to the podcast today. What I'm going to address today is going to be how you can lose weight without having to count calories. This can be a really sore spot for a lot of people because a lot of people have the willingness and the discipline to want to adhere to a diet, but for some reason they get hung up about numbers and calories and it just doesn't make them feel really great about themselves, or they just don't like having to think about numbers too much when it comes to food. Lucky for you, you don't need to track your calories to lose weight. You can have lots of other formats that are going to help you achieve the same result without having to be tracking calories all the time. So let's get straight into it. The first thing that you could use or you could utilize is going to be meal plans. Meal plans are great for people who have the discipline to stick to a diet, but just simply don't want to be tracking calories. This is what I do and what my team does, coaching people. We create meal plans for them. We calculate and tailor those meal plans so that people know exactly what breakfast, lunches, dinners, and what snacks they should be having. And that way, they don't have to think about the amount of calories they've eaten at all. Is this something that I suggest for everyone? It isn't, because one of the main reasons why people quite often struggle to lose weight is because they just have a lack of awareness of what foods they should be eating or shouldn't be eating. And sometimes spending a little bit of time, whether it's even 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks, actually doing some calorie tracking can be really helpful because it just makes you become more mindful of food, and it makes you realize, oh, some of the food that maybe you've been eating is really high in calories, and maybe other foods that you really do enjoy eating that you don't eat as often are really low in calories. And if you just made those swaps, your weight loss would be significantly simpler. So by utilizing a meal plan, you can have somebody else do the hard work for you, and you can just follow along with the meals that come up in that meal plan, or you can have food guides. Food guides is what I'll do for some clients where they might have options of different styles of breakfast that are all lower in calories or fit the amount of calories that they need to be eating. And the same thing goes for their lunches and their dinners and their snacks. So these food guides can be really helpful because they allow you to just pick and choose things that are in the list instead of having to calculate those calories before you're eating everything. The second option, or the second strategy that you could utilize to try and lose weight without having to count calories, is going to be to reduce your portions. So really simply, if you eat a really big plate, your dinners and your breakfasts and your lunches, if you just made those plates or the containers of food that you're eating smaller, you would be eating less calories as a default. This strategy can be really helpful for people who don't want to sacrifice on taste of food or the quality of the food experience that they treat themselves to every single day. So if you're someone who maybe is at the start of the journey, this could be a really great tip, because a lot of people, when they're overeating, just making that simple swap from going from a big plate to a small plate will drastically reduce all of their calories. And if you did this to every single meal that you're eating throughout the day, you would notice a huge change in your appearance probably within a week or two, because you would be drastically probably dropping your calories by 100 to 200 calories. This option can be really great for people who also are not maybe ready yet to change the kinds of foods that they're eating. And this is also a strategy that you can use later on if you're going through a weight loss phase, to try and reduce the amount of calories that you're eating by kind of tricking your brain by still eating some of the same foods that you were eating previously, but just reducing their amount. The third way that you can try and lose weight without having to track your calories is going to be by eliminating certain types of food. Now, this example is something that a lot of people would have become a bit more well known with lately, with things like a carnivore diet or things like a paleo diet in the past. These are diets essentially where you restrict entire macronutrient groups or food groups entirely. So for example, with the carnivore diet, most people are just eating meat, so they're basically neglecting all carbohydrates, a lot of vegetables, a lot of things of that nature. And as a default, by limiting the amounts of foods that they can eat, they are going to drop their calories, because now there's only so much fuel source that you can get from only eating protein. Also, when you're only eating things like protein, which I don't recommend, your satiety levels will be pretty high the whole time, just because protein is a lot more challenging to digest than simple carbohydrates are going to be. So it's just going to be harder to eat as many calories from that option. A different way that you could think about a restriction diet or restriction style diet to try and not count calories is going to be when people decide to cut things like alcohol or sugar. A lot of people have the issue where the bulk of their calories, especially if they're really social, come from alcohol or come from sugar if they happen to have a sweet tooth. So a lot of the time when people decide to cut things like sugar, if they happen to have a sweet tooth and they're always grabbing a chocolate bar every time they're going to the shops or every time they're going to the petrol station and they decide to stop doing that, they could be reducing their calorie intake every single day by 2, 3, 400 calories really easily just by making that one change. When it comes to alcohol, there's going to be other repercussions to going cold turkey, so I can't advise that. But if you are somebody that drinks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drinks a night, you could be dropping 1,000 calories really easily just by making that one simple change. Now, most people are probably not on that spectrum of the alcoholism range, but if you are someone who has maybe a drink every night, that's an easy 150 calories that you wouldn't be having, that by the end of the week, you've dropped your calories by 750 or 700, and now you do that for a whole month and you've probably dropped an entire kilo by just making one simple change. Now, all of these strategies have the same thing in common, which is that you are decreasing the amount of calories that you need to be eating, but you're not doing it in a way where you're having to grab your phone all the time and check to see how many calories every food that you're eating has. And these strategies can be really helpful if you're at the start of the journey, or they can be really helpful if you're just someone who just doesn't want to be thinking about numbers all day long. If you're someone who is stuck with your weight loss journey and you want a little bit of help, especially if you like the idea of being able to lose weight without having to count calories, then I would really recommend that you reach out, because that's exactly what me and my team do, and we can help you create a plan that's going to be specific to you, tailored to the foods that you like, your allergies, and that has the right guides for you so that you can make choosing a good breakfast, a lunch, a dinner really easily. And that's pretty much it. Anyway, team, apologies if I seem a little bit awkward in these podcasts. I'm trying to do them by filming and looking straight down into the camera. And sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. I just want there to be a video format to these podcasts that I'm doing. Anyway, if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to share it around. And make sure to come back every Thursday, because you should see the podcast drop every Wednesday or Thursday. And these are available on YouTube and Spotify, and I'm pretty sure wherever podcasts are available, you should be able to find this. Anyway, thank you for watching, team. Take care and peace.